All right, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about shifting a little bit from what we've been doing in the last couple of days, which has been talking about discount and tax and tip, all those applications of finding the percent of a number and then using that to either figure out how much something is on sale for or figure out how much of a commission you're going to make or that kind of thing. Today we're going to discuss how to describe a change between two numbers. So we're going to use percents to describe that change. So if you would take a look at just the very first top section of this front of this paper, you should be able to follow the directions for 1 and 2 only. You have highlighters on your desk, so if you need, you'll need 2 different colors, so you probably have to share. I put one over there for you, Morgan. But see if you can work through just the very top. Don't go on to the next one. Let's just focus on one at a time. Right here. Number 1 and number 2. Go ahead and start. And you're probably going to want to use a couple different colors to show what you started with and what you're ending up with. You need help? Cameron, do you need help getting started? I would use a highlighter, yes, so that you can show 2 different colors. Julia, why don't you leave that for right now and so you can be with us on this and you can come back. Double check that that's 10. Now you're going to do number 2. Okay. Now you can go on and do the second step. Stop for 1 second. Where's your 10? Okay, and then this says add squares to the figure so that the figure becomes 15. So are you going to add 15? How many are you going to add? 5. Okay. You're just doing, okay. And then see if you can answer the little question down at the bottom underneath the grid. Show me where there are 10 added squares.
Wait, are we supposed to do that? Yep.
So is that still going to be this? Jared, do you need help? Do you have 10 original ones, green ones?
Yeah.
And then how many orange ones do you need to have? We want to make 15. Okay, I'm gonna have you bring your attention back up here. If you're not finished, then you can finish it as we discuss what we have. I asked you to draw 10, a figure that has an area of 10. So minus 2 by 5, that's an area of 10. And then an increase of how many squares? 5, to make a total of 15 squares. So we have how many added squares? 5. And how many original squares? 10. And so that would be what as a percent? Andrew? 50%. So this is an illustration of percent change. We are describing what we did to change our figure. We added 5, which if you want to write this on here, we added 5 on here. That was our change. That's how much we changed our figure by. And we are comparing it to what we started with, which is whatever color you chose, the 10 original squares. This is a shift from what we have been doing up to this point, because up to this point we have been comparing the part to the whole entire thing. If I compare the part to the whole entire thing, this is 5 out of what's the new image? How many squares? 15. And we know that to be a percent of 33%. So we could say that the change is 33% of the new figure. But we do not want to describe the new figure. We want to describe how the change compares to the original figure. So that would be 5 out of the original 10. Everybody understand the difference between the two?
So would this be like if they tell you your tax is $1, would this be finding what percent of your total that dollar was, the tax was?
Similar. Yeah, finding, since that would be like if I said your total is $40 and then your new total with tax is $41 and we want to know by what percent did we add on? Yes, then that would be related to what we've done before. Okay? So let's take a look at the second example then. There's a small typo on there. I apologize for that. If you find the set of directions, the number 2. Do you see the last sentence where it says shade the added squares to the different color? This time around, we're not adding squares. So would you cross out the word added and change it to removed? And then go ahead and work through this second example. So you're just gonna have to share, like with Jared on highlighters. You're gonna use 2 different colors. Thanks. Do you need help getting started? So now what are you going to remove? No, we're going to remove squares. Remove 5. So show me those 5 that you're removing. How many squares did you take away, Chris?
15.
So here it says remove squares from the figure to make it 15 units. So how many squares are we really removing? 5. So 5 removed squares. Awesome. Now you can fill that out. See if you can calculate out what the percent is. So how many squares are you taking away?
5.
Good. So put that in there. Now what are you going to do?
Shade over 5.
Shade over 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Jared, how many squares did you remove?
I removed
How many?
5.
5. So in that little, down at the bottom where you wrote it's 75%, how many squares did we remove?
20.
Yeah. Jamie, how many squares did you take away? So we read this right here. Remove squares to make it 15 units. So that's going to change what you have in front of you. Yeah? Most of us are here. We started with 20 squares. For me, that's a 5 by 4. And then we want to make it into 15. So we're going to remove 5 squares. So what portion of my original figure did I remove? What portion, Parker?
25%.
How do you know?
Because if you made the diagram 4 by 5 and you take off the top row, there's 4 rows, so 25%.
Say that again. I don't think everybody heard you.
If you made it 4 by 5 and you took off one of the rows, then it would be 25% because there's only 4 rows, and 20 would equal 100%.
Okay. So Parker's saying he sees 4 rows here. And how many rows are you removing?
1.
1. So the change is 1 out of 4 rows. Do you agree with that?
No.
Anybody want to add to what Parker is saying? So if we're answering this question here, Parker did not describe this as the number of squares removed to the original number of squares. He looked at it a different way. How many squares are we removing? 5 out of 20. Are these two fractions equivalent fractions? Mm-hmm. How do you know, Carson?
Because 1 times 5 equals 5 and 4 times 5 equals 20, and whatever you do to the top, you do to the bottom.
Okay, so we know they're equivalent fractions that way. And then Parker talked about setting it equal to 100, which is 25%. So both of these diagrams that you've done, we've modeled what percent of change looks like. We're starting with an original figure, and we are either increasing or decreasing that original figure. We're not always going to increase or decrease the original figures by the same amounts. So we want to be able to describe that change through percentage instead of through number. So what I'd like you to do right now is open your note takers and look at there's about 16 lines there of reading. I'd like for you to read this twice. The first time, I want you to just read it. And then the second time, I want you to read it, and I'm going to put 2 questions on the board for you to answer. And when you answer them, just highlight that where you found the answer or the proof to your answer in what you're reading. The two questions that I'm asking you to look for are, what is percent of change? And how do we know if a percent of change is a percent increase or a percent decrease? Okay, so read through it one time on your own, and then go back and highlight the justification for those two answers to those two questions. I'll write them up here for you. Don't start on that. Highlight this. So when you read it through the second time, make sure that you are able to, in the text, find the answers to those two questions. Logan, did you need me? No. Don't go on to this, please. I'm asking you to look here. Were you able to answer those two questions? No, the two questions that are on the board. So where in this is the answer to question A? And where in this is the answer to question B? I'll give you about another 30 seconds or so to take a look at what you're reading. Okay, so partner A, remember yesterday we talked partner A, you are sitting on the right. You are responsible for question A. So what I would like for you to do is turn to your partner and tell them where in the text you have found that information. If you are partner B, then your job is to agree or add to what their answer is. And then your job is to turn and talk to partner B and tell them where in the text you found the answer to the second question. Will you go and sit next to Sydney for this one thing so you two have partners? Anybody have questions about what I'm asking you to discuss right now? When we come back together, I'm going to ask you for specific in the text proof of what percent change is and what percent increase and what percent decrease is. Go ahead and start.
You still have to say it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I found it here.
What line?
6 to 7.
I agree. I found the answer for B on line 12. 12, 13, 15, and 16.
Okay, me too.
100 and the
Okay.
change of 80% is
5.
Did you come up with what percent change is?
Yes.
What? Tell me.
The ratio of the amount of change to the original amount.
Okay, so what is that? What does that mean?
It's how much it changed from like what it used to be. Like how much it got like bigger or smaller.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like you're about finished. Chris and Shannon, what did you guys come up with for percent of change? Tell us where you found it in the text and tell us what it means.
I found the answer in between line 6 and 7, and the answer is percent change is the ratio of the amount of change to the original amount.
Okay, everybody have the information in line 6 and 7? So I asked Andrew, what does that mean? So Andrew, will you tell us what that means? Because that is the proof from the story, but Andrew told me in his own words what that means. So will you tell us what that means?
So the change either gets bigger or smaller from like what the number used to be.
Anybody want to add to what he said or rephrase what he said? Okay, so let's go back to question B. Morgan and Kaden, what did you guys come up with for how do you know if percent change is increase or decrease?
In line 12, it says if the new value is larger than the original value, then we have a percent increase. And then on line 15, or line 14 and 15, if the new value is less than the original value, then we have a percent decrease.
Okay, anybody want to say what he said in a different way or show where there's different information in the text about that? Amber?
It says in line 11 and 12% increase describes how much the original amount increases.
Okay, so original amount increases, then we have percent increase. Original amount decreases, then we have percent decrease. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do right now is I'm going to give you this set of cards. I would like for you to empty them out and create 2 piles. One pile will show percent of increase values, and the other pile will show percent decrease values. Okay? And then what we'll do is what you will do is you need to be able to justify or write a reason why you put each number into their given categories. Yeah?
Let's put it into 2 piles. Do we do it for people like the partners or the table?
Individually. So each person is going to get their own set of cards because we're going to put these into our ISN. Okay? So as soon as you get it, go ahead and get started. And give you about 3 minutes to see what you can come up with. I think there's enough there, you guys. Did I give them to you already? 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you stay there? Since there's no partner. Okay, go ahead.
This for each group or every person?
I think it's every.
Already got them? Okay. Once you have them sorted, compare your sorts with the person sitting next to you, and then we're going to glue them into our ISN. They're going to look like this, 2 categories. And then I want you to, next to each category, give the justification from what you read about why all of the ones that are in the percent increase are there and why all the ones that are percent decrease are in their side as well. Okay, so sort them and get them glued in. We're gluing them into page 35 of your ISNs. You have glue in front of you. But most important is that you're giving your justification for why you sorted them that way. Yeah. You don't have glue? Oh, here.
We have a bunch of
Huh?
So,
Yeah, I loaded them up so we'd have extra. Yeah.
what? Let's just do this.
So let's see if we can get these sorted and glued in the next 2 minutes.
I don't know.
Does it matter what?
The order it
Sort
is.
them and then, like, you don't have to put like this one's.
No, not individually, but collectively as a group. These are percent increase because.
So just like one
These
side
are
and
percent
one side.
decrease. Uh-huh.
So where do we glue it?
On page 35. Remember, it's a lot easier to put the glue on the paper and then just stick the cards down than trying to individually glue each one. Oh, you have it. Okay. What are all of these increase?
Yeah.
How do you know that they're increase?
Because in the paper it says if the original amount is smaller than the new amount, then it's increased.
Okay. These are all increase?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know?
Because the original number gets, or the new number is higher than the old number.
Okay. What are all these?
Those are decrease
And how do you know?
because the new amount is lower than the original.
Okay. And these are increase?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your justification for all of these being in the same category?
Because the original amount is lower than the new amount.
So what does that make them? Can you write that right here? And do the same here? Give your justification? What did you say, Ryan?
I said write them down here.
Uh-huh. So you would say these are percent decrease because, and these are percent increase because, or what, however you want to word it is fine. And you can use the words straight out of the text if you want, or you can put them in your own words. What did you write right here?
The original number is bigger than the new number, so it's decrease.
Okay. And so then what would it be for over here?
The original number is lower than the new number, so it's increase.
Okay. What are these?
Increase.
Increase? So we should label that increase. And why are all of those increased, Jacob?
Because the original number is smaller than the new number.
Okay, good. Chris, are you finished with your sort? Okay, so now you need to tell me why. Why are all of these percent increase? And why are all of these percent decrease?
Because this is bigger than the original.
What is bigger than the original?
Price is bigger than
Okay, so then you should write that. I'm gonna look down here and I'm gonna go, new is bigger than original, right, on all of these? Is that true for this one? Just switch it, or draw an arrow over here so that you know that it's in the wrong category. Did you already get yours? Did you give your reasons? Mm-hmm. So why are all of these, you said these are all percent increase, how do you know?
Because the original price was lesser than the new price.
Let's write that down. And then the same over here. Shannon, got your reason? Why are all of the ones that you put into this category, why did you put them all there? How do you know that those are percent increase?
Because like this little packet thing said, if it's higher than the original, then it's percent increase.
That's what you're writing down.
Yep.
What, sweets? Kima, what's your proof for decrease?
Make a pile of these.
The new number is smaller than the original.
Just okay. What's your proof for increase?
The original, the new price is higher than the original.
Okay, so this says goes down.
Yeah.
Does that give me enough information?
No.
No.
That's what you.
So just add to it to make it be enough information. What is going down?
The original.
Great. The original value. Yeah.
Is going down.
Most of you are to the point where you can, if you haven't already done so, compare your groups with your table or your partner. And then let's make sure we're sharing our justifications as well. Why did you put them into the given categories? What was your reason? Jared, do you not have your ISN today? What if you just put a red or an orange X on all the ones that are increased and all the green ones are decreased, and then you can just put them back in this envelope and save it for next time when you have it. And then maybe you can write your justification on the envelope. Does that work? Okay.
What do we do with that?
You can leave them on the desk after class.
I want to keep it though.
Sorry, Andrew. Okay, let's come back together, please, in 5, 4, 3, 2. I came around to almost every group, and so in summary, how do we know if the percent change is percent increase or percent decrease? What's your proof? Jamie, how do you know?
If the new number is higher, then it would be an increase, and if the new number is lower, then it would be a percent decrease.
Anybody want to add to what she said or restate what she said, Gio?
If it's higher than the original amount, it's an increase, and if it's lower than the original, it's a decrease.
Okay. So I had written this last period. percent increase is if the new value is greater than the original value, then we have an increase. And if the new value is less than the original value, then we have decrease. Everybody good with that? Okay, so now let's talk about how to calculate out percent change. So we did talk about what is percent of change, and we found in our reading that it is a ratio that compares the amount of change to the original value. Andrew said it's like what you're adding on to or what you're taking away from what you started with. Okay, so let's look at, if you go back to page where you have your reading, at the bottom, we have a percent. So, look at this and tell me, show me with your thumb up if it's percent increase or thumb down if it's percent decrease, just by looking at those two values. Okay, most of us are agreeing that it's a percent increase because it goes from 28 to 56, so the new value is higher than the original. So let's model this, and let's look at what we can see from our model when we are describing this change. So start, you have a highlighter, and let's draw 28. You can do it however you choose. Is your 28 around here like this?
Yeah.
Perfect. Shade it. Okay, and this is our original value, so you may want to write in original value. However you drew yours. I'm seeing a lot of variation, sorry Shannon, a lot of variation in drawing 28. Sweet. Okay, now we want our new value to be 56. So that does not mean that we are creating a new, brand new shape. We are changing this shape to become 56. So go ahead and do that. Change this shape that you drew so that it now is 56 square units instead of 28 square units. And you may want to do it in different colors so you can see what you added compared to what you started with. So we need to make a description of the change. We need to be able to say that the new is a percentage of the old. So I'm seeing a lot of different images. I'm seeing a lot of different ways to represent your old and your new. Why don't you compare yours to your partner's and see if you can agree on a description of the change using a percent. See if you can agree that it's 50% or 80% or 100% or whatever it might be.
Okay, so I think it's like
Talk to Tommy and talk about why.
50%. So that's 56%, right? Yeah. Yeah, 56%. And then it's 3 holes, and then it's half. So it's 50%. Yeah. So it's like, why are you not working today?
Okay, so Julia, do you agree with what Cameron is saying, or do you have a different thought?
28. The change.
Okay. What do you guys think?
It's half of the original.
Or 56 is 28 double.
So it's
So doubled is times 2, right?
Well, yeah, but since 100% of the original, which is 28, would be 28. So if you add 100%, which is 28, you would get 56.
Okay. Okay. What do you guys think?
200%.
They each have 28, and like 28 plus 28 is 56, so it would be 50%. Oh wait, no. Because isn't it for the original amount, weren't we just figuring out what the new percent is? Oh, okay.
So you still think 50%?
No.
Turn and tell Ryan why you don't think it's 50% anymore. What do you guys think?
I think it's a 50% increase
Why?
because if you have the original amount and you double that, it's 56.
Wait, no, I think it's a 100% increase.
Why?
Because it's twice the size of the
Okay. What do we think over here?
Chris,
I see 50% here. What do you think, Morgan? 50%? What do you guys think? 100%? What do you think? 100%. So let's compare what your thinking is between the 4 of you who think it's 100% and the 2 of you who think it's 50%. Discuss your reasoning behind it. What do you guys think?
we think it's 100.
You two think it's 100%? What do you think? 100%? What do you think?
100%.
100%. Why?
Because 28 plus 28 would be 100%. It's not 14. 14 plus 28 would not be 56.
28 is 56. 28 is 100%.
Okay. Okay. I like it. What do you think? 100% and 100%. Why?
Because you add 28, which is the higher amount again.
But wouldn't 28 be the original value? So would that be 100% right there?
Uh-huh.
And then you add another 28, so wouldn't it be 200%?
But we're talking about how much did we change it?
How much did you add on to
you
it, not the
changed it
total?
by 100%?
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, I get it.
Is that
Yeah, okay.
is that reasoning making sense? Okay, let's come back together as a group. I heard 2 different answers. I heard about half of you say that you think that the description of the change is that it increased by 50%. And then I heard another set of students say that they think that the change increased by 100%. So, Robert and Carson, will you talk to us about what you think the answer is?
Yeah, well, the original value was 28, and we needed to get 56, so we put 56, and we figured out that 28 was half of 56. But since 28 was the original value, we added on 100% of it.
Okay, who can restate what Robert said? What do you think, Chris?
28 is 100%, and if you add 28 to 28, it's 56.
So he said 28%. I don't know if the people in the back heard you. Can you say it one more time?
28 is 100%, and if you added 28 plus 28, it gets 56. So it's adding 100%.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? Tyler?
You would add 100% because 28 is your original value, so that's the full thing. And since 56 is doubled, you would add 100% onto it to get your full amount.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It did make sense to me. Did anybody else want to add to what Tyler said? Logan?
100% is, like, if you add 100%, that means you have 200%, and 200% is doubled. So, and 28 doubled is 56.
So are you saying that our answer is 200%, or are you saying the whole thing is 200%?
It's a 100% increase.
It's a 100% increase. Okay. Kaden?
Well, we started with 28 and for our original value, and then if you add that whole again, that's 100%.
So it sounds to me like you're changing your answer, because when I came around and talked to you before, you had thought something different. So what made you change your mind?
Well, if you would have added 50%, that would have been 14, and that's not what the new value was. So it's 100%.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you guys are all saying that this piece that we have right here is 28 units, and that is 100%, or all of it. Tyler, you said the whole thing. So this is 100%. And we made it 56. And so Logan said 56 is the double of 28. It's times 2. So that's another set of 28 items. And so that's another 100%. Originally, a lot of you said, well, 28 out of 56 is 50%. But we are not comparing to the new shape. We are comparing to what we started with. So we're comparing 28 to 28, which is 100%. Do we agree with that? Okay, so the amount of change between the two values is 28. The percent of change is 100%. Is it 100% increase or decrease? 100% increase. And we can see this in the model because why don't you go ahead and write a statement about what somebody in this room said it and it connected with what you said, whether it was Tyler or Brandon or Logan or anybody else, Kaden, who shared. What are you seeing in this model that is justifying to you that it is 100%? Go ahead and write it down, if you haven't already done so. And then we can go ahead and take a look at the one on the top right and see if you can work together with your partner maybe and come up with the description of the change using a percent. On the next one. Yes, please. On the one that starts with the original value of 12.
Okay, the original value is 12, and the value is 40. 18 is the value change, 18, and that's 30%.
Let's see what you have. Okay, so let's start here. Kaylin, you okay with 100% increase on that last one? Good? Okay. Cameron and Julia, were you... Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And you girls had 50% originally. Are you okay with it changing to 100%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me why, how you know that.
Alright, so
What made you decide that that was an okay change?
Well, because we figured out that since 28% of the squares were filled in, that was already 100%. So if you're adding another 100%, it would be 200%, but you're only adding that 100%, so.
So the whole thing is 200% of this, but you only added on the 100%.
Yeah.
That's what we
You felt good with that? Okay, keep going with what you have. Did you already get this one? Yeah. So the difference, the amount of change between the two values is 28, right? So that means that you added 28 squares, right?
Yeah.
So tell me where you got this number from.
So 10% for this is 4. So you multiply that by 3, it equals 12, which is 30%, and you subtract 100 by 30, and you get 70%.
So you're saying that this compared to this is 70%.
Oh no, it's 30%.
Well, I think what I'm asking you is, you're comparing the blue and the yellow, those two parts, to what they would be all together. What I'm asking you to compare is, this is what you started with, and this is how much you changed it. So how many pieces are in this original? Can you count out 12 pieces in a group of 12 pieces in the yellow?
We did the change out of the original.
Where would that end?
Right here.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So can you draw a line right there to show it would actually be here, right? That is the same size as that. And then you still have all of this. Do you still have another?
60.
So do you still have another set of 12?
Well, how many times?
So it's gonna be, this one was 100% because it was double, right? This is more than double. So does it make sense that this is gonna be 70%? It's gonna be more than,
It's going to be more than 12.
it's gonna be more than twice. Think about that and see if you can come up with a different answer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I need your attention, please, in 5, 4, 3. So we're about done with class today. So here's what I'd like for you to do. There are 2 more examples for you to finish. One we've just now started. Please don't pack up yet. One we've started, and then there's one more down here at the bottom.